26.3% increase in exports recorded last year. Jamaica recorded 72 murders in first 15 days of 2022. Opposition says it stands in solidarity with police officers in ongoing negotiations for payment for overtime work. Now the news. Starting tomorrow, Jamaica's public hospitals will be restricted to conducting emergency care services only. In a statement, the Health and Wellness Ministry says the change in operation comes as several of the island's public hospitals face increased pressure due to the growing number of confirmed and suspected COVID-19 cases. There is also decreased staff coverage as many healthcare workers are out sick. The ministry notes that up to Sunday, there were some 682 persons in hospital isolation for COVID-19. Of that number, 486 were positive and another 196 were suspected. The ministry adds that elective cases are being postponed and the public will be advised of the new dates for these procedures. The ministry continues to encourage all persons to get vaccinated. The ministry says it is critical that all persons wear masks, wash hands frequently, and exercise the 6 feet physical distance rule. Members of the public are also to avoid gatherings and stay at home if they are ill. Jamaica saw a significant increase in the value of goods exported from the island last year. According to Director General of the Statistical Institute of Jamaica, Statin, Carol Coy, exports went up by 26.3%. Speaking at a quarterly press briefing yesterday, Ms. Coy said exports from the agriculture sector went up by 7.5%, due mainly to increased exports of yam and coffee.
Total export earnings in 2021 were valued at $1.1 billion, an increase of 26.3% relative to the same period in 2020. The increase in exports was driven mainly by mineral fuels, which rose by 96.8%. Exports from the manufacturing industry increased by 32.1%, due mainly to higher exports of refined petroleum products and food, beverages, and tobacco. Earnings from the mining and quarrying industry was 6.2% above that in the comparable 2020 period, due to higher exports of alumina.
Meantime, Ms. Coy noted that imports were also up last year, increasing by 23.3 percentage points. She noted, however, that the total value of imports is still below pre-pandemic levels.
Total imports were valued at $4.2 billion in 2021, compared to $3.4 billion in 2020. The increase in total imports was largely attributable to higher imports of consumer goods, which went up by 9.5%, raw materials or intermediate goods, which increased by 22.2%, and fuel and lubricants, which increased by 62.2%. It should be noted that spending on imports has not yet returned to pre-pandemic levels. In the corresponding 2019 period, imports were valued at approximately $4.9 billion.
Director General of Statin, Carol Coy. Jamaica has recorded 72 murders since the start of the year. According to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, the murders were recorded as at last Saturday, January 15. The murder tally has increased by 14 from the 58 recorded in the corresponding period last year. St. James recorded the highest number with 14, followed by Westmoreland and St. Catherine North with 9 each. Meantime, robberies have increased by 4 from 43 to 47. However, cases of rape and break-ins have declined. Rapes declined by 23 from 32 to 9, while break-ins declined by 13 from 34 to 21. The second suspect held in Jamaica linked to the assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse is to appear in court tomorrow. Jean-Joël Joseph, a former Haitian senator, was apprehended in St. Elizabeth on Friday, along with 3 members of his family. Head of the police's corporate communications unit, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay told REFM News that all except a child have been charged with immigration offences.
So they were all charged. There's an underage person that wasn't charged, but the adults are charged for immigration-related matters and will go before the court later this week to answer to those charges, because so far the investigation revealed that they did not enter the country with any of the official legal court. So they're looking at immigration matters so far.
Meanwhile, SSP Lindsay says talks are ongoing in relation to Joseph's deportation.
We are aware, and our local investigators are in touch with investigators from AC as well as other international agencies who have an interest in the matter. So we know that there's a warrant of arrest that was issued in AC in relation to the alleged involvement in the assassination of the president. So that's a separate issue from the immigration issue. So I know that based on where they are now, they are working, all the different agencies are working now to see how to treat with the matter going forward. So as soon as they make a determination, then they'll be able to provide a further update in relation to that part of it.
Head of the police's communications arm, Senior Superintendent Stephanie Lindsay. Joseph is the second suspect to be held in Jamaica who has been linked to last year's assassination of President Moise. Last October, ex-Colombian soldier Mario Palacios was held in the country. He was deported earlier this month. The opposition says it stands in solidarity with the members of the Jamaica Constabulary Force in the ongoing negotiations for payment for overtime work. It's reported that some police officers have been working shifts in excess of 8 hours each day without compensation for overtime. The Police Federation has been engaged in negotiations with the government to recover overtime pay accruing since 2008. In an open letter last November, the Federation agreed to take overtime back pay from 2015 instead of 2008. In a statement yesterday, opposition leader Mark Golding suggested that the growing tension be quelled by the government agreeing to pay the police for overtime going forward and entering into good faith negotiations to reach a workable solution with respect to the retroactive period.
The manner in which the government is dealing with the situation shows a lack of regard for our police officers who work tirelessly to serve and protect our nation. The dispute has left members of the JCF disillusioned and disgruntled. Morale within the force is low at this critical time when the nation is relying on our police officers to bring the torrent of murders under control. This impasse is highly undesirable, and it is the duty of the government to find a solution. Jamaica needs a motivated force to protect the population from the criminals. Our police officers deserve to feel valued and respected as we ask them to face the dangers of confronting armed criminals. Constructive and sympathetic engagement by the government with the Federation is urgently needed. It is clearly in the nation's best interests for government to motivate our police officers by adopting a conciliatory and respectful approach to dealing with their unresolved claim for overtime pay.
Opposition leader Mark Golding. Meanwhile, the Jamaica Police Federation says the government has placed its rank-and-file members on life support and has sought to further demoralize the membership. According to the Federation, the government has paid scant regard to the cries of crime fighters for better remuneration, resources, and working conditions. Chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Rohan James, says the federated members cannot continue to subsidize the operations of the Jamaica Constabulary Force. He says the Federation has on many occasions reached out to Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark and Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang, but there is no meaningful effort on the part of the government. This comes against the background of the government's failure to settle wage talks and the 40-hour work week matter that's now before the court. Like the Jamaica Teachers Association, the Police Federation has refused to sign off on the Finance Ministry's offer of a 4% increase on wages for public sector workers. Corporal James says the government has shown disdain to its members and that the situation has become unbearable because the government seems not to care about ensuring that police officers are properly paid.
The fact of the matter is that despite our very best effort to get the Minister of Finance to sit with us and to hammer out an amicable agreement, that is yet to be materialized, and we are still open to dialogue and we are still open to sit at the table whenever we are so called. We are not going to allow for the government to continue to distract the rank and file cohort for much longer and to the detriment of our economic growth and prospect.
Chairman of the Police Federation, Corporal Rohan James. He says despite the poor treatment, the members will continue to serve and protect citizens.